Hi, I'm Chuck Fletcher.
Hi, my name is Ali Vigneault, coach of the Flyers.
Hey, I'm Travis Konechny.
Hey, this is Jeremy Roenick.
Hi, this is Travis Sanheim.
Hi, I'm Paul Holmgren.
Hey, I'm Scott Lawton.
Hi, I'm Joel Farabee.
Hi, this is Bob Clark.
And you're listening to
Snow the Goalie.
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 Well, Bundy, I'm not going to give one of Russ's oh yeses to start this episode of Snow the Goalie off. Just can't do it. Just can't do it after a miserable shutout at home to the Toronto Maple Leafs on Wednesday night. I can't have Russ's enthusiasm. Well, you'll hear it a little bit later anyway, because Russ and I were able to sit down and talk to Paul Holmgren, who's going into the Flyers Hall of Fame on Monday, and we'll get to that interview in a little bit. But I just can't have the enthusiasm that Russ has when you come out on home ice against a Toronto Maple Leafs team that is a very good team offensively, but they've been terrible defensively. They give up a ton of goals, and the Flyers couldn't get even one in a 3-0 loss at the Wells Fargo Center in a very disappointing game as they now prepare for back-to-back games this weekend, crucial games in a lot of ways, one against the first-place Carolina Hurricanes and one against the Dallas Stars on Saturday night. Chris Terrian, as always, joining me here on Snow the Goalie. Russ is not with us for this part of the episode, but Bundy, good to have you back. And what are your thoughts on last night's debacle? Let's just jump right into it.
You know, it's a kind of game like I don't want to say it in an obnoxious way, but I've seen this movie how many times, right? Like that's a game last night. And you know, I think we talked a few weeks ago, Anthony, about, stepping on that team's neck and being done with them. And they did that a little bit, right, early. You almost have to treat the season the same way. So like getting a goal would be essentially, if it's a course of a game, beating Toronto will be like getting that first goal in a game and then carrying it on. They don't do that. There's no reason for a team in Toronto that has, mind you, 4 really good players. Matthews came in. I don't even think Matthews had a point last night. Maybe he did. It was an assist, but it was Nylander that kind of took over last night, got them the 2 goals. I thought the Flyers stunk last night. Like I thought there was no second effort on shots. They had shots, some got through. They probably had more opportunities early in the hockey game to take a lead because no goals were scored in the first. But all in all, Anthony, again, I thought Campbell could have played that game in a rocking chair last night. I thought it looked easy. Stop the initial shot. There's got to be more of a conscious, determined effort towards the front of that net. And I just didn't see enough of it last night. And as a result, you're going to lose to a team that you should have at least scored 3 goals on yourself, right?
Right, exactly.
You get one on a Toronto team where their defense are getting lambasted on a daily basis by everybody, including the Zamboni driver up there.
What's true, yeah. You know what's interesting, Bunny, right now? We're a month into the season. And people say, well, it's only 11 games. Well, in an 82-game season, 11 games is it's 13% of the season, almost 13% of the season. The Flyers have yet to win a game in which they trailed at any point. And every win that they have, they never trailed.
Right.
They get out ahead. So it's almost like this is becoming a pattern with this team. I mean, 11 games is 11 games, but until it starts to change, we're going to start to see a lot of this, that first period and that first goal is really going to kind of dictate, are we going to get the Flyers team that we want to see that gave us some good efforts, like they gave us against Boston and Edmonton and the second Vancouver game, or are we going to get a Flyers effort like we got last night because they get behind, or like they played against Calgary, for example. Right. I mean, they've really kind of delineated that they are 2 different teams, and it really is indicative on what the score is at a certain point.
And you know what else? I think it's almost time to face facts. First of all, it worked for about 3 games, but the Brassard line is getting absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And we knew that would be a problem. So they're having a problem because of size up the middle and he's being thrust into a top, a top 6 line role. So that hasn't worked. I know the Flyers made some changes today in practice. They flip-flop wingers, putting Farabee back up from taking him off of Brassard's line and moving Lindblom back down. Both guys have struggled. That's just a change to make a change. But I think we're at a point now where we got to start asking ourselves, until we end up getting Kevin Hayes maybe back in the lineup. This team, quite frankly, now is at a point where they're having trouble scoring goals. You get 2 goals against the Washington Capitals, and they're really, really banged up. The Caps as well. They're top heavy as well, with one line going right now with Ovechkin. And if they don't fill the net at night, you have a chance to beat them. That's what happened with the Caps. But let's face it, this is a Flyers team that goals are at a premium right now, and they're hard to come by. How do you fix that? Because you can't go on. You're going to go on a run eventually where you're just going to happen to let the other team score 5 out of 6 games. Are going to get the first goal, right? Through a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to find a way to come back in games where you're trailing 1-0, because it's just not going to be complete luck every single night that you're able to hold on to your, the first goal lead that you got in the game. So, that's again, resiliency, being a hard team to play against, playing the same every night. One thing this team never does, and listen, you're not going to convince me now, after 8 or 10 years of the same group at the top, that things are going to change. They're really not. I think you're going to see a lot of the same. We hope that the team does better, but I've just seen so much of the same up and down philosophy with this same group that it becomes frustrating watching a team like Toronto come in here last night with 4 forwards, a mediocre defense, a goalie who's really come into his own the last year or so, and beat the Flyers 3-0 in what should be an absolute must win looking at the weekend ahead of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you play as badly as you played last night, and I want to get back. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend. Obviously, since our last episode, they lost to Pittsburgh last week in overtime, and then they beat Washington, as you mentioned, on Saturday. But you're really not going to go up against a team that is playing about as well as any team, if not better than any team in the NHL on Friday night in Carolina. And you talk about these lineup switches, like you said, it's a move just to make a move. Ultimately, they really need Kevin Hayes back. I know you had mentioned that there's a possibility that you think that he could play this as soon as this weekend. Yes.
Yeah, him, and actually, I've kind of like the rumor mill. I actually heard Ellis might be available also for the Dallas game.
Oh, there you go.
There's a chance both those guys could be back Saturday, not Friday at the Carolina game, but they got to start 3 and 4. First of all, I'm just going off. We're not off topic, but what a weird back-to-back that is, right? Carolina, Dallas.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, usually it's not like you see like a Carolina, Florida, or something like that. But
right.
You fly almost 3/4 of the way. We're halfway across the country again.
Yeah, that is weird. When Hayes comes back in, because of the offensive struggles, do you think he automatically first game back second line center? Or do you think they try and ease him in a little bit since it's been so long, and maybe start him a little bit lower and then try and work him back after a game or two?
You know what? Knowing coaching, Anthony, and you do too. If they lose Friday night and he's back there Saturday, he'll probably go right up to the second line.
Yeah.
If they beat Carolina Friday, they'll put him on the third line Saturday. Right?
Yeah.
Just play the reverse of it. So, I don't know. I think that you give him the chance to come in and try to get his wind under him, get reacclimated to an NHL building with people in it and an actual opponent on the other side. So we'll see. I mean, listen, he's been around enough. Both these guys, even with Ellis with the injury as well. I mean, they know how to play in NHL buildings, but I think it'll, again, you're at a situation, the difference now, one of the true differences now in the league between now and it was 25, 35, 45 years ago is that everything is so tight, right? So there wouldn't be a lot of panic going on until say December 1st or middle of December after you got through the first 30 games, you kind of knew who you were. And then you said, oh, we got to make, we got to do this, or we got to make a trade. Or maybe the manager's thinking, or what kind of a team do we have? Do we like where we're going to be in the second half? The thing is now, if you lose 2 or 3 games in a row, even in October, November, there's an automatic panic that sets in for teams that have an expectation to win, right? Like Arizona, nobody cares about Arizona. They're awful. They're supposed to be awful, and they are as such. The problem with a team like the Flyers for their fan base and for people around the team is I think everybody's hoping that this Flyers team does well. Nobody's really certain that they're going to be able to carry themselves forward with ease because we haven't really.
Yeah, you pointed out the second line has really struggled. Lawton and JVR, they've played well together. Can't complain too much about Couturier's line. I mean, they're at least putting up their points. I guess if we're looking for any kind of positive, and I guess we're going to go. I'm going to, like I said, go back and look at the Pittsburgh game and look at the Washington games as well. There are at least 2 things that I could sit here and say well, okay, at least this is going well for them. One is goaltending. I think both goalies have been really good. Martin Jones has blown my mind. I can't believe how well he's played in the 3 starts that he's had. And defensively, they're consistent. Right? I mean, they're not great, they're not terrible, but they're consistent. It's almost like they play defense like a number 3 starting pitcher, a guy who will get you through 6 innings and keep you in the game. Right? I mean, that's kind of how I look at how their defense is playing, and so I look at that and say, well, if you have that at least, well, you're going to be in most games and have a shot to win.
Yeah, and you're right about that. I mean, they're efficient. There's been some good play by the defensemen this year. There's been some rough spots. I thought that Sanheim and Ristolainen against the Capitals had both played a really good game. Last night was just okay again. I want to see like that push where you're elevating, the team's elevating. And I think there's been games where they've really treated us to some good hockey. And then there's games last night that make you kind of revert back to oh man, like here we go again. What happened? Why'd that happen? But there's, what, Anthony, I think when you look, the other thing too is that you get yourself in a situation now, these teams, the panic does set in with these organizations where they're 4 points out of the playoff spot. And that's absolutely happening right now as well. When you look around the league, I see every team, American League teams. I spent some time with some guys the other day at one, and I'll tell you what, they start standing watching now like November 1st more than ever before. Mm-hmm. But the Flyers right now, they just need, when you watch them, don't you think they're a team that just needs to find more of that level of consistency all the way through? And the other problem they have too, the Flyers, if you can do a job on Couturier and Giroux right now, you're probably going to have yourself a good night. That's what it looks like in many ways. But their defense, I agree with you. The other thing, their penalty kill has been better, which has elevated their numbers. They've had a much, much improved penalty kill. And Carter Hart has been better, right? And Martin Jones, the goaltending has been significantly better than it was last year at this point. Where they started off well, they started to drop a little bit. But as bad as it was last year, we've not seen anything wrong with the goaltending at all.
Yeah, and so that's the one thing that I think you can at least cling to when the team plays as poorly as they played last night. Say, well, they'll still stay in games. They'll keep themselves in games. But you're right. I mean, right now, the offense is just. I mean, it was clicking early in the season. There's nothing there really right now, and the power play is a problem, Bundy. It really is. They made changes mid-game last night to the power play. But I don't necessarily know if they have a solution there right now. And I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. They're not scoring. It's
the same old thing. And again, you get video of it. I mean, I know if I'm a defenseman, right, I'm going through the Flyers power play. It's going to the half boards on the left side to the right-handed Giroux. He's going to sit, he's going to hold the puck. So what you do is you eliminate, do the best job you can. You'll actually give him the pass to the point. Where you don't want him to hurt you is in that mid area. Remember they used to run that play there with Hartnell. Sliding out. And other guys tried it over the years. Hartnell was probably the most effective at it. But it's not. There's no reinventing the wheel. As a big defenseman defending a power play, go ahead. You want to shoot from the half boards, do it. Your goalie's supposed to make the shot. Puck goes in the corner, get in the battle. That's how you clear pucks. But it's not. It's the same old thing. I like a power play that zips that puck around and has you turning, like staring around for the puck. But if you're going to set it up with one guy all the time, I'm telling you, I'd love that. I'll sit on that all day long.
Now, I know
that's why it's stagnant.
Now, I know that they tried for a couple games and it just didn't work. They've tried flipping Giroux to the other side because they put Atkinson out there, and they know Atkinson's a shooter, but they wanted him on the left side because to get the left-hand shot. Yeah. Why not go both of them on their offhand and give him get the goalie moving and get that shooter shooting back against the grain a little bit? Doesn't that help a little bit?
It does. And I think the one thing too this year, I mean, but again, is Giroux going to be a shooter or a passer? See, it all comes down to that, right? What's he going to do? Is he going to, because most of the time you're sitting there, you're thinking, unless he's got a lane, he likes to take one-timer shots, as they come across.
Right.
Or if he sees an open lane to the net, he likes going high, far side. That's what he's done. Atkinson on that far side is set up. If you do switch him, like you said, left side, left shot on the right side, that would open up the one-timer. The problem is with Atkinson, he's not a playmaker. So he's not going to be able to dish that puck around as efficiently as Giroux does. He's a pure sniper. So whether you leave him down in and around the net, To me, and I've said this 1,000 times, I used to do the broadcast, pre-post, whatever. The best and the hardest power plays to defend are the ones where the defenseman's in the middle of the ice and they somehow are able to pull the trigger, because that's where the mass confusion comes in. The puck goes towards, funnel to the middle of the net, and then the bodies crash. You as a defenseman then have to pick your head up, sort the puck, find out where the puck is, find out where the guys are coming, where the traffic is. Those are still the most effective power plays. You see some nice ones some nights where you see the backdoor plays. But tell me how many times you really at a power play, it's not just a shot, scramble, loose puck, somebody scores. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Yandel looked good on the power play first handful of games, and then he was taken off the power play, and it seemed like, from what it sounded like listening to AV, it sounded like he took him off the power play because he didn't like the way he was playing 5-on-5. It was almost like it was a punishment. And so then he put Provorov back up there. And once you put Provorov back up there, and we know that Provorov is not as good a puck mover on the power play. What I mean by that is moving it fast. I mean, he's got an okay shot, but he catches the puck and then takes a second before he decides where he wants to go. And I think it gives the defense the time to reset itself. So I think that Provorov's too slow on the power play. Why not either go back to Yandel, or try something else, try somebody else? I know you're probably waiting on Ellis. Maybe you're waiting for Ellis to get back into the lineup to try something else. But I mean, I'd even give Ristolainen a shot. If you don't want to put Yandel up there, Ristolainen played power play for Buffalo. He's got a heavy shot. He's not going to move the puck great, but at least he'll put the puck on net, maybe.
That'd be like putting me or Shell Samuelson. We'll see that, by the way, Monday night. I don't know about that one, but all right, pal. I'm going to go with you on it because I love you, and we're just going to stick in a positive mode today about the players.
I'm just trying to come up with
positive.
I'm just trying to come up with something different. That's what it is.
And again, it's salty. It gets old sometimes. Like I get it. I understand it, and that's why I say like I'd love to kill, as Toronto did. They didn't have a problem killing it. Power play also is about second effort and perseverance, like staying with it on a power play. First of all, nothing against Keith Yandel, but if you brought him in here and you expected him to go out and be, a dynamic 5-on-5 player, I could have told you 10 years ago that was never going to happen. So he's a power play guy that, that moves a puck up. But to me, a power play for a guy like Yandel is like food and water at this point of his career. And if you're not going to be able to put him there, it's probably not going to do a whole hell of a lot to help you in other areas.
Right. So I don't know. I just think that it's so weird. How does JVR go from being one of the best tip guys in the NHL a couple years ago when he had all those power play goals to now all of a sudden he can't play first unit and they can't get shots to where he can deflect them toward the net? How does that happen? I don't. Has he fallen off? I don't think he's fallen off in that regard. They're just not getting shots to the front of the net. And look, I'm not one to ever really criticize Sean Couturier. He's a big body. Shouldn't he be a guy that has a little bit more success right around the net on the power play? Those are two things that also boggle my mind a little bit watching the power play.
Bigger in front of the net, and again, maybe with JVR Murray had that a couple of years ago. He started off really unbelievable. The pandemic shortened season. Yeah. And I thought to myself, man, like he's really, really done a good job. He had a lot of points early in the year. Some of it too, I always figure into like puck luck percentage, because maybe one year you have a ton of puck luck and then next year it kind of levels itself back out for you. Maybe that's where he's at. Or maybe he just, listen, he's gotten older. He had a very dismal second half last year where nothing worked for him. And it seems like that's trendy. But, from what you're saying, Anthony, I agree with you that you can stick those size guys in front of that. It's still somebody to contend with. I would rather, to be honest with you, deal with a guy like Cam Atkinson in front of the net than I would with a guy like Couturier or Van Riemsdyk, strictly from the leverage they have on their sticks, their ability to turn, the longer reach. They're just tougher to defend in a power play situation where you're outmanned with that extra guy crashing the crease. I hated the game last night from the standpoint that they didn't go to the front of the net. I didn't like that at all. Like there was not enough second push. They weren't distracting Campbell enough. And get in there, like get right in the top of that paint and stand in front of him. You can't touch him anymore, but you can make life miserable. That puck comes, get in there, whack and whack for it. We just didn't see any of it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bundy. I think that's kind of what we faced. But anyway, it is what it is. It's a bad loss, and now they face a little bit tougher of a situation this weekend. You know, it would have been nice to get the win against Toronto and then give yourself a little bit of leeway in these back-to-back road games. Now you almost have to go down, to Carolina and Dallas and try and get 3 out of 4 points against two tough teams, right? I mean, that's Dallas,
Dallas had a closed-door meeting last night.
Yeah,
I saw that this morning on the read-through, and Carolina's got 1 loss. They look like they just absolutely make pudding out of everybody. And Dallas will be ready after a horrible loss to Nashville last night, they'll be ready for the Flyers Saturday. So there's a lot. That's what I mean, the desperation, right? Like a closed door meeting after 10 games for the Stars. They're clearly not happy with what's going on, and Carolina seems to be rolling along. I actually like the Flyers situation better with playing Carolina, coming off a bad loss in Carolina. Maybe, they've only had 1 loss, or they beat Tampa last game out, if I'm not mistaken. And, they're just rolling. They're winning games. So maybe they're due for, kind of a stinker, maybe like Edmonton was when the Flyers saw Edmonton out on the Western Canada swing.
Well, we gotta hope for that. Gotta hope for that. Now, before we get to the Paul Holmgren interview that Russ and I were able to conduct, we got to announce we had 2 more winners. 2 more winners for tickets for the Alumni Game, which you're participating on Monday, November 15th. And we did this with the keywords, if you remember last week, that we had people had to recognize the keywords that Russ and I said during the show. Russ's was inflation, and mine was loser point. And our 2 winners, we picked 1 winner from Twitter and 1 winner from Facebook. And the winner from Twitter is George Landgrebe, right? That's Landgrebe. So George, congratulations. Send us a DM to Snow the Goalie, or email us at snowthegoalie@gmail.com, and we'll be able to send you your tickets. And the winner on Facebook is Jim Piechowski, Piechowski. So, nice. Jim, also same thing. You can send us a message through the Snow the Goalie Facebook page, or send us a Gmail, snowthegoalie@gmail.com. And I'm going to announce we also have another. We have more tickets to give away. So what we're going to do is Russ put a thing out yesterday. So people have to both follow and retweet the Snow the Goalie account where it's talking about the tickets to the game. And then we will announce 1 winner during the game on Friday night and 1 winner during the game on Saturday night as well. So we've got 2 more pair to give away. So follow at Snow the Goalie on Twitter and retweet the tweet out that Russ put out from the account, and you can get your chance.
Are we going to be tickets. Like I'm so pumped up? I saw the roster came out today. I'm actually going to be playing with Shel Samuelson, and I'm hoping I'm going to be mic'd up for that, Anthony. I'm looking forward to that. We'll have a lot of fun with that.
Let's talk about that after the Paul Holmgren interview, Bundy. Because I don't know. Maybe I'd love for you to be mic'd up too. But we'll see.
Tell me.
I
can imagine where we're going with it.
We'll talk about that shortly. But first, guys, here's a great interview we did with Paul. Paul talks about a lot. He talks about this whole this whole alumni game and how it came to be, and how cool it's going to be on Monday night. He talked a little bit about obviously getting put into the Flyers Hall of Fame. We asked him about the current team, and he was brutally honest, Bundy. He said, listen, they've been okay, but they haven't played well enough in his mind. And this was before last night's game that we interviewed him. So Paul's of the mindset that the team's not playing well enough in his view. And then we also dove into some deeper topics, Bundy, and we'll kind of get into this a little bit too, because you did mention the fact that you went and spoke to the Hershey Bears. I want to talk about that a little bit with you. But we talked a little bit about that with Paul about players in hockey today, dealing with either substance abuse issues or dealing with just mental health issues that lead to that, right? And Paul had some great things to say about that as well. So here it is, folks. Tune in. We got about 25 minutes with Paul Holmgren, me and Russ Joy, and Bundy and I will be back right after this.
Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast, the People's podcast, the Players podcast, Prognosticators podcast, Pedialyte podcast, Campers podcast, and in fact, now rejoined by a man who allowed us to call this the presidential podcast. Of course, a man who was the president of the team when he came on the Snow the Goalie podcast the first time, none other than soon to be Flyers Hall of Famer, Paul Holmgren. Welcome back to the show.
You're really jogging my memory now. I don't even remember being on Snow the Goalie before. I was on. That's great.
You were on. I think it was our second year. We started this in 17, right, Russ? Was that this 2017 was the start of this podcast?
That sounds right.
I think it was the summer of 18, Paul, that you joined us, and you came on and talked about the off season and stuff, and now here we are again. A few years later.
And I must have done okay if I'm being asked back. So that's good.
Well, you did a good job, but apparently we did a crap job. You don't remember being on the show. Don't worry. Every time, listen. From now on,
I'm getting old. I'm getting old, Russ. Don't worry about that. I'm sure you guys were great.
Everybody who listens to the show, when we do the intro, we play out our favorite people who have ever been on the show, saying you're listening to Snow the Goalie and you're on there. You're like front and center. So listen, you ever forget, you just pop on an episode and you can hear yourself and you can celebrate, rejoice. But we have a lot of stuff that we're excited to get into, and we're less than a week away now from the Flyers Alumni Game, which is going to see you on the bench against your inductee to be in the Flyers Hall of Fame, Rick Tocchet. First of all, just wanted to know how preparations are going. Have you been chirping at Tocchet in a text thread? Are guys jockeying to be drafted to your team? Like how are preparations going for the game?
None of that stuff's been going on that I know of. I mean, it's maybe we're trying to keep it clean here for this event and just may the best team win. But you know what? It's everybody that I've talked to. I talked to the Sutter twins the other day. They're coming in on Saturday. The rosters are really shaping up. There's ex-Flyers from so many different eras. I think the fans are going to be thrilled to see this take place. It's an awesome event that Brad Marsh is sort of organized and put together, and kudos to Brad because of the work he does for our alumni, and obviously they gave him the ball on this and he's ran with it. Brad's done a great job for the Flyers and the alumni. And
it's unique to me, Paul, because I obviously we remember the last time we had a big one like this was right before the Winter Classic. And obviously that was a big deal because that was the first time Lindros had come back, and you were so involved with bringing him back. But when you look at this roster, there's a lot of names on this roster that weren't there at that event, and there are a lot of names that people are going to want to see and be excited to see on the ice for the first time in a real long time. So like the Brad, like you said, and the organization has really done a nice job of putting these rosters together.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I know it was a little scrambly during the Winter Classic. Like I was basically putting that roster together. I didn't, I had a lot of guys calling me. I think we had 10 defensemen. We had 5 lines. You're trying to get as many players as you can, but Brad's done it's a little easier when you can field 2 teams. I don't know, but we do have a lot of good names coming back, and I'm so excited to see all these guys. It's going to be an incredible 2 nights.
Have you selected your teams yet? I'm not sure that's been explained yet publicly of how these teams are being picked.
I was misinformed. I was told we were going to have some kind of a draft. Now that's been taken out of our hands, both mine and Rick's hands. So I think Brad is dividing the teams as evenly as he can, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun once we get going.
It's probably better that way.
It's going to be such a special night; it won't matter.
Yeah, it's probably better that way, because the last thing you would want, Paul, is a lot of the younger guys ending up on one team and a lot of the older guys ending up on the other, and you get a little lopsided at that point. Although maybe Joe Watson might spear somebody after a while if you get down like 6 or 7 goals.
All right, we're going to make sure that nobody listens to this except for Bundy, who's now hosting the show with us. But who would be your number 1 pick? We're not going to let any of the alumni listen to this before the game, so don't worry. Not going to have any hurt feelings out there. But who
I think
would
the
have
key to this game is going to be young guys and speed. So I'd probably take Danny Briere with the first pick.
Yeah, I agree.
If I had it,
I would agree. That would probably be the best play to go. Well, the other thing that I guess a lot of people don't realize, the hardest thing to fill is the goalie position, right? Because
not if you got a good strong offense, but
There you go. I like this. High scoring affair.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I know you've expressed, what this all means to you, but to just not just the night that you're going to get inducted and the name go up on the banner in the rafters for perpetuity, but to have this event the day before tied into it, it's almost like it makes it that much more of a special event for guys like you and Talk to really make it not just a one-night affair, but really a whole weekend. I mean, you guys, like you said, guys are coming in Saturday. I'm sure you guys are going to have some get-togethers over the weekend, and then you got the game on Monday, and then the event on Tuesday with the Flyers. So I mean, it's just got to be like a real special thing to have take place here in Philadelphia.
Well, it is, and again, I'll give kudos to Brad. This is an idea that I heard about this idea 5 years ago. Brad was talking about this back then. And like I said, the Flyers listened to Brad. They gave him the ball, and he's running with it. And it's a unique event where he can tie in the alumni and it's a couple of older ex players that are going into the Hall of Fame, and just kind of make it a 2 or 3 night deal and make a big deal out of it. I think it was a great idea 5 years ago, and it's blossomed into what I think is just going to be a super, super special 2 nights for the Flyers organization and for our fans.
Who's the guy that you probably haven't seen the longest time that's coming in? Like, who's the one player that maybe it's been years since you've seen him and he's coming in for this event?
Well, I'm anxious to see Mike Keenan. I haven't seen him in a long time. Oh. Probably since he coached Calgary. I haven't seen Mike. So that would have been like maybe 2010. So I probably haven't seen him for 10 or 11 years. So, but there's so many like Murray Craven. I saw him in Vegas maybe 5 years ago, or when they first started out, I guess. So that's 3 years ago. The Sutter brothers I've seen from time to time. Just everybody. I can go down the list, Anthony. I don't know all who's coming in. I've seen the rosters, but there's so many other guys that are coming in that aren't going to be on the ice,
right? Which
makes it more special. So it's going to be a big night for the organization. Big 2 nights.
Let's get down to brass tacks on this one. People want to know what to expect from this game. Is this going to be a glorified all-star game where there's no defense played? Do you think that there's going to be some guys with something to prove? Do we have old scores to settle? Are we going to see Schultz and Brashear drop the gloves? Like, I need to know. I think everybody needs to know. What do you expect?
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing those 2 guys drop the gloves. I think it probably could happen. But to answer your question, you don't know a lot of these guys well enough to think, is it going to be like an East-West skills game? First of all, everybody's older and slower, but the competitive juices still flow when you put the skates on and when you get on the ice. So I think it'll be a highly competitive game with a dash of fun involved. And I think for the fans that are there, they're gonna enjoy it thoroughly. I know the players will enjoy it thoroughly. They love to play the game still. But I talked to Lindros yesterday. He's pumped. I saw John LeClaire and Mark Howell both on the weekend. They're excited about playing. I think it's going to be just a wonderful event for everybody involved.
That's great. I want to shift gears here for a second, Paul, because the Flyers have gotten off to such a good start, 6-2-2 through 10 games, and Chuck Fletcher had an offseason that really in Flyers history can only be rivaled by the offseason you had between 06-07 and 07-08 as far as turnover of the roster. And as a matter of fact, he might have actually brought in 1 or 2 more players than even you did that year. Are you impressed by what this team has done, not so far, and how quickly they've kind of become cohesive? And can you talk about the job that Chuck did in making this happen and within the constraints of a flat salary cap?
Yeah, well, that's a big thing right there, Anthony. Like you mentioned the summer of 07 and this past summer. And the difference is the Flyers in 07 had, I don't know how much cap space we had, but we had a lot.
Right.
I want to say it was like 25 million and Chuck had like $25 in cap space. So he did all this magical work with limited, capital L, limited cap space. So to add, Ryan Ellis and the other guys Martin Jones and
Atkinson
Derek
had a
Brassard
good start.
The two guys he picked up on waivers. I think what he did is incredible. And I've seen, of the 10 games we played, I think I've seen a fair chunk of 8 of them. I don't think the team has played great. So to have the record they have, not played great as a team yet, to me speaks volumes of what they have. Both goalies have played incredible. And, I think once you get Ryan Ellis back in the lineup and Hazy back in the lineup, give them a couple games to reacclimate themselves. This team, obviously, if they can remain healthy, the other guys, they can take off and do bigger and better things. But to be sitting where they are with, in my opinion, with the way they've played, which isn't, I don't think it's been great, but there's been good things in every game, but I don't think they're on top of their game yet. And I think they will very soon here.
One of the things that I think came up, especially as Chuck was overhauling the roster, was there was that common thread of these guys who had been brought in. Many of them had worn letters on their sweaters before. And, like from a media perspective, from a fan perspective, that goes so far, and that's an easy visual thing. And you can kind of assume what that entails. But the fact that this team has been able to build the chemistry they have, that it seems to be an environment that is, across the board has been a positive. Can you give people an idea from a behind the scenes perspective of what it could mean to a team to bring in guys like that, especially so many of them, and maybe helping to speed up that acclimation process or that assimilation into being one cohesive unit?
Yeah, well, I think just take a look at the Cam Atkinson for Jake Voracek trade as an example. Jake is I'm a huge Jake Voracek fan. I love him as a person. I love him as a player. I think he did incredible things for the Flyers. But, having said all that, I believe Jake needed a change. He needed to go somewhere else. Chuck was able to facilitate the trade for Cam Atkinson, who, by all accounts, maybe needed a change from Columbus to another organization. So the day that trade's made, Cam Atkinson is super excited. His grandmother's super excited. It kind of changed the dynamic of things where, Jake was kind of ragging on things around here a little bit. And here you got a guy that seems excited to be here. His grandmom's excited that he's playing for the Flyers. What a great organization they are. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good trade in my mind. You get and Cam, he's a little bit different player than Jake. He's a little bit more of a scorer. Coach can utilize him killing penalties, which nobody ever thought to use Jake killing penalties over the course of his career. So it's a win. It's probably a win for Columbus. I think Jake at some point is going to set up Patrick Laine for 151 goals or something like that. But Cam will score goals for us. He'll kill penalties for us. He'll give us some speed that we probably dearly need. He'll be a positive in our locker room and in our community that maybe Jake wasn't at the end because of the fact that he probably needed a change.
So you bring that up about a star player, a guy who had been perceived as part of the core for a long time. I'm going to probably upset a decent chunk of the fan base here by asking this, but whatever. When you look at a high draft pick that didn't pan out, like Nolan Patrick, moving on from him, I have to assume is maybe a little bit easier for Chuck because he's not the guy who drafted him. But as an organization, how hard is it to move on from a guy that was drafted so highly? And does it make it a little bit easier knowing what you were hoping to get back as part of that trade?
Yeah, I think in terms of that trade where you get Ryan Ellis back for Nolan and Philip Myers, made it easier. Everybody in our room, in terms of our management team, scouting staff, thought the world of Ryan Ellis from a character standpoint, from the terms of a fit on our team, playing with Provorov on the right side, the character of the young man. Is his age an issue? We didn't think it was. He'd been fairly healthy. 6 years on his deal left at a reasonable number for a player that plays the minutes he plays. So I think I made it a little easier to swallow. Obviously, there's a little bit of a hesitancy when you're talking about young players, because they could come back to haunt you a little bit if they really develop or turn out. But I think if you weighed everything involved, I think that made the decision easier for Chuck, just because of the attributes that Ryan Ellis has on his side of the ledger.
Paul, we know that ultimately teams can't have the success that they want to have without a goalie playing really well. Obviously, we're only 10 games in. Carter's played 7, Martin Jones has played 3. But from like you said, you've watched about 8 of the games. From what you're seeing out of Carter Hart, are you seeing a lot more of the guy who was here 2 seasons ago, as opposed to the way Carter was playing last year? And piggybacking off of that, is this just part, in your mind, part of what a goalie at his age in the NHL might go through? Because he's kind of learning on the fly on how to deal with failure, maybe for the first time in his career.
Well, there's no question he's learning on the fly. And what I sense in Carter, just from seeing him, off the ice, in the locker room, in the meal room, he seems to be a more confident man, kind of like he was 2 years ago. Last year, for whatever reason, he didn't seem to have he didn't walk around with the same charisma that he maybe had the year prior to that. And, there's a lot of things involved. It wasn't just him. The whole team played poorly in front of him. And goaltenders are tasked to, you said it. They got to stop the puck. At the end of the day, they got to stop the puck, whether it's a quality chance or a puck bouncing in from the blue line. You got to stop the puck. And the team needs to play better. The team last year needed to play better around him as well. But Carter's, in my opinion, he's back to being Carter Hart. Whatever he did over the summer, he just went home and thought about it. It's part of the merry-go-round of playing goalie in the National Hockey League, and as a young guy, there's a lot of I don't want to say pressure on the young man, but it probably is or was, and it's constant. And I think there's no question in my mind that Carter can handle that. And it certainly helps when Martin Jones is playing to the level that he's playing at right now. He's looked incredible. I remember I watched the third period very closely the other night against the Caps, and when he's on top of his game, his positioning is so sound that he just, like an Ovechkin. He just stuck his leg out like 3 times and stopped that, from Ovechkin's office on the power play. Like, how many times have we seen that shot go in?
Right.
Right.
And he stuck his leg out 3 or 4 times and stopped them. So, goaltending is, and you mentioned it, Anthony, it's key. Probably bigger than anything in any sport, goaltending in hockey. And so far, the Flyers goaltenders have been great, and their attitude been great. I think the team's played a little better in front of them, and I think we'll continue to get better in front of them, which is going to make their job a little easier too.
You mentioned that, you could tell that his charisma is back to where it was. I'm just going to take you back just to when you were a GM and you were around the team every day. Is that something that's kind of like not talked about a lot? Like, you could tell maybe if a guy is not himself, walking around the locker room, whether it's on the ice or off the ice, or you're on the road or whatever the case. That's something that you make a mental note of and say, we need to check in on that and see if there's some kind of outside force that's kind of coming into play here or whatnot. Is that something that, you have to be really observant as a GM to kind of pay attention to?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not just the GM. The coach, the assistant coaches, the trainers, the sports psychologists that you have around your team, everybody. Now, let's face it, when you're playing 82 games in the NHL, there's a lot of stress for all the players. A lot of things are asked of the players. And, are you going to have, nobody has 82 good games Trust me,
Right.
nobody. I don't care who you are. And, you're going to go through ups and downs. What you try to maintain with your team is kind of an even flatline attitude about ups and downs, goods and bads. And if the teams that can maintain an even keel are the teams that have the most success, in my opinion. What the point you made, Anthony, is does the GM need to see that? Yeah, he does. But so does a lot of other people that are involved in the organization. And whether the Jim McCrossan or the equipment manager sees somebody being, hey, so-and-so's a little down today. Maybe it's just that person that deals with it. Hey, everything good? Everything good with you? That's just the way it works. It's, when you're in the locker room, it's a pretty tight family. And if somebody's having a down day, somebody's going to recognize it and probably address it.
I want to ask you one tough question, and then we'll get back to some good stuff to wrap this thing up. And this isn't a tough question for you specifically, but maybe more so for the sport. We see a lot of what's been going on with comments about certain things, with certain players having addiction issues, and then you saw Carey Price just checked himself into a inpatient facility, and puts the word out. I know you've dealt with players quietly behind the scenes for so long and been so supportive of players who've dealt with these kinds of issues. Is this something that's becoming a bigger problem in the sport, and the league needs to maybe address it in some way to try and make it so that mental health and addiction and whatever else is managed better than maybe it has been in the past?
Yeah, I don't think sport, hockey, any sport is much different than society. So are there issues? Sure there are. And I think, we as an organization try to recognize issues with our players. I think players try to recognize issues with their teammates. Again, it's all part of a family. And if your emphasis is on the family atmosphere that you want your organization and your team to be, then hopefully those issues, if they do arise, and from time to time they do and will, they'll be recognized at an early time, and we can maybe nip it in the bud. If not, then we've got some work to do. But I'm sure there's issues, just like there is in society. And I think what we try to do, the Flyers, is give our players all the tools they need to be successful as a player and as a person in our organization. And if somebody comes to us because they need help in a certain area, we're there. We're there for them.
See, I'm not sure, but Ant and I sometimes look at this a different way. And I don't know how you'd feel about this, but to me, it doesn't necessarily signify that there's a bigger issue now than there has been in the past, but maybe there is a greater willingness to be open about getting help and about being public about looking for help. Because, I mean, I wasn't around for a few decades of some of the stories that I've heard, but it does sound like through the league's history, there have been times where guys probably should have gotten help and didn't, because either it wasn't available or there were, plenty of factors that led into them not being
taboo.
comfortable. Yeah,
it was
that
taboo.
Being comfortable getting it. So to me, I don't view it necessarily as being something where there's a bigger prevalence of it in the game now. It's just that guys are more willing and open to seek that help. I don't know if you feel similar to that or not.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think there's probably a lot of accuracy to that comment. But speaking personally, I think in my era, so those are things you just didn't talk about, right? You tried to bury your head in the sand or whatever. And I think in today's world, like you said, it's probably out there more in the open, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to now let's cheer things back up again. Wanted to make it about you because you are going to join a list of 25 other guys, and if we include Tocchet as well, then 26. So you'll either be number 26 or 27. I think you're 26 alphabetically, so we're going to give you 26. Tocchet doesn't, he doesn't get say on this. You do. You're the senior member in the duo getting inducted. Can you walk us through what it was like to get word that you were going to be inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, it was under a bogus phone call. I thought I was going to be on a phone call with Dave Scott to talk about some alumni stuff around the building we were trying to do, building an alumni lounge. And so when I got on the call, I see Dave and I see Billy Barber. So I knew something was up. And it really took me aback. Like I still, to this day, and it's been a few weeks since I've known. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I really do. It's an incredible honor. I'm humbled beyond anything that's ever happened to me in my life. And I've witnessed, a number of Hall of Fame ceremonies here in this building, and to say that I'm going to be part of one and that I'm very nervous about it. I'm anxious about it for a lot of reasons, but I am incredibly honored and looking forward to the night. I really am.
I just looked at my phone and I realized I missed Zach's text, and we've had you on for 5 minutes longer than I promised that you'd be on. So I do want to wrap it up with this last question, and then we'll call it an interview. There's not been any kind of formal official announcement of Paul Holmgren retiring from hockey, but you have taken a step away, you have taken a step back here. You let the people who run the team. So I guess we want to know, we let the people know, what are you doing with your free time? Like what are you enjoying? What are you able to do now that you couldn't do for all those years that you were intimately involved with the organization?
Well, I get to spend way more time with my grandkids, which is like a whole another level of coolness in my life. Not that I've ever had that, but I get to play golf a lot. I get to fish a lot, things that I enjoy, and spend time with my family more than anything. And, I still enjoy, I don't do a lot for the team anymore. I mean, I talk to Dave Scott, 4 or 5 times a month, maybe. I go over and visit Chuck from time to time, maybe a couple times a month, just to check in. I enjoy watching practice and, seeing some of the guys. But I have nothing to do with any decisions being made, and that's fine with me. I don't want any part of that. I'm enjoying my life and look forward to the sun coming up tomorrow and doing more cool stuff.
Is your handicap going down with all the golf you're playing?
Yeah. I can have good games from time to time now. There's areas of my game that have gotten better because I like to practice. I like to play, but I really like to practice, and that's probably helped me in getting a little better.
Awesome. Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate
pleasure,
it.
Anthony. Anytime. I look forward to coming back the third time. Third time's a charm, right?
There you go.
Look at that. This guy, the man makes the Hall of Fame, and now all of a sudden he's inviting himself back on the podcast. We will allow it. This was fun. Okay. This was a blast. And you'll have to obviously let us know all the further developments that happen in your mostly post-hockey life at that point. So we'll look forward to having you back on. So thanks again for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. Flyers Hall of Famer, Paul Holmgren. Thanks for coming on Snow the Goalie.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Oh, there it is, Bundy. That was Paul, and as always, just a true gentleman. I mean, really, as always. I mean, every time you talk to him, like you feel like you've learned something. And you've known Paul forever. I've known Paul for a long time. And yet every time I talk to him, I feel like there's something new that I glean from the man. He's just that kind of guy.
He is, and he's been, I mean, obviously, meet my story of, of alcoholism and redemption and all that stuff. I mean, that story doesn't get told fully without Paul Holmgren involved in it. So, again, I have nothing but utmost respect for him. I'm playing in that game Monday night for him and talk, and I'm honored to do it. So, you know what? I mean, he's been through the ringer. He's helped many guys through that locker room over the years, and we were lucky to have someone like that. And as somebody grows older, that's and I don't say it. I say this humbly, but somebody else has to fill that void, right? When someone else moves on, the message has to be kept going, and especially in the world we live in today, where unfortunately, drugs, alcohol, mental health become such a major focal point for people, and they're suffering. They're going through a lot with this. And, we had a big episode already this year in the NHL with Carey Price. These things bring to the forefront. More people like myself are talking about the issues I had, and letting them know that, I wasn't the best version of myself, but I'm trying every day to be better. I'm trying to learn to grow, to be a better dad, all the things that come with it. And Paul Holmgren, as we go back to that, has been somebody that's helped me understand that over the years.
Well, and that's one of the questions I kind of want to ask you, because we asked Paul, and I want to kind of see what your take is on it. Are we in a situation now, because obviously we had the whole thing with Robin Leonard, and obviously, he was a little misguided by, calling AV a pill pusher, but nevertheless, I mean, there is an issue with certain medicines that guys get addicted to, certain pain pills guys get addicted to in hockey. So I guess the question really is, do you think it's worse now, or is it just more that guys are more willing to talk about their issues publicly now, and that maybe they were hidden in the past because it wasn't like the cool thing to do back then, to really kind of bring that out to the forefront?
Well, that's my biggest mission with all of my recovery stuff that I'm doing with people. I mean, other than the fact that I have a recovery center in Fishtown, it's a small place, but it was really for me to have an opportunity to get people in that need help, whether it's Philadelphia or people in the area. But for me, my biggest thing is to help get rid of the stigma, like erasing the stigma of it. And you just said it right there. We used to say, like, when we heard a guy was a drunk back in the 90s, they'd be calling that guy a drunk on the ice. Mm-hmm. You heard somebody got into a D-double. Like, I remember Darius Kasparaitis, and he was a famous, like, in recovery, and he was a kid when he was in recovery. And I remember guys, myself, other guys had said stuff to him. I'm ashamed of that now because I became that same guy. So I remember those things. I have to park it in my head, remember who I was, know who I am now. But that's what happens, right? So the stigma of that now you'd never hear a guy say that to somebody. There's recovered alcoholics playing in hockey in the NHL right now. In fact, there's one on the Flyers that's been open about. I don't need to mention any names. So that's wonderful. That's what you want, but you don't need anyone calling you that. You're making a decision to change your life for the better by stopping that substance. Unfortunately, right now too, as I've told my story, Anthony, mine was always about alcohol. I was raised in a family where, Dad said, you go ahead and drink beers with the boys after. He was a hockey player himself. That's being a good teammate, but those drugs will kill you. And I lived by those standards my whole life, and that's the way I was raised. I never did drugs. I was a drinker. The problem is that when you get into the situation with the pills and the opioids, that, guys have gotten hooked through playing professional sports because of the injuries. If they happen to run out of money, or they happen to run out of the opportunity to get those pills, sadly, that turns into you ended up driving your car into one of the worst areas in the inner city and picking up heroin. And that's unfortunately what happens. The problem is that the heroin, the addicts now back in those days will tell you it's not heroin anymore. It could be mixed with fentanyl, which kills you, could kill you on the first time. So that's my fear for the drug addiction in society now. And everybody having that second opportunity to be able to speak their truth, truth is power. And the more I talk about it, the more that I engage myself in it and letting other people know it's okay to have had a problem. That's not you. The changes you make to you are what's really, truly important. And that's the message I'm trying to deliver.
Yeah. And you delivered it brilliantly to the Hershey Bears. That was on what, Wednesday? No, Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And the Hershey Bears tweeted it out, and I saw it. I retweeted. I know a bunch of people retweeted it. It was pretty cool. So if you can, I don't know why the Flyers didn't retweet it. I mean, I think the Flyers would retweet one of their former players sending such a great message to minor league players. I mean, it's
not really surprised, but anyway, I'm not here. I wasn't here for that message was for the Hershey Bears.
Yeah,
those players.
Well, how did that come? First of all, how did that come about? How did that come about? And then you talk about what happened.
Yeah, well, Todd, Dan Stuck, the famous Beaker, who was a trainer. Everybody knows Beaker. He had a great friend, a guy I've gotten to know named Todd Schill. He's a producer, a guy that's been involved in a lot of movie series, TV series. I've gotten to know him a little bit since my story came out. He was intrigued by it. And Beaker called a couple weeks ago, said, "How would you like to come up here and speak to the Bears about your story of recovery, addiction and recovery, and what you're doing now with yourself?" And, I've had a lot, and again, life doesn't always deal you, the best, deck of cards sometimes. And I've had, hasn't been the best year and a half. I like what I was doing before. I'm happy I've moved on because now this is more rewarding. But I was happy to go in and kind of treat those guys as a young version of myself, and just let them know, hey, I've been there. And if you need anything, I'm here for you. But most importantly, be aware, like this can happen to anybody. Addiction can get picked up, especially alcohol, which is still really at the almost top of the food chain, Anthony, and through all sports, alcohol is out there on every street corner almost. It's readily available. So we went through talking about the problems with social media, addiction, and just keeping away from those trigger points that cause problems. And that's what I want to continue doing with other teams or organizations. I want to hear my story. I broke that down in about 10 minutes. Easily could have gone for an hour telling my entire story. And it's something I want to keep doing because I think this conversation just cannot stop. It cannot stop at this point.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got a pretty good reaction from those guys, right?
Amazing. I mean, you have 20 guys come shake your hand and say, wow, that was just unbelievable. That's what I want to hear because I know it's resonating with somebody. If that person goes home and shares that story with his wife or girlfriend or whoever it is, and she tells somebody else, that's what I want. That's the message. And it takes courage to do it, but it's there's no other way to do it for me. It's all in or you're not in. And that's the way that I've kind of lived my played. And it's not different for me and my attitude towards recovery. I believe you can be the absolute best version of yourself doing whatever you're good at or whatever you want to do.
And what people should know is before you actually started playing for the Flyers, the Bears were at that time the Flyers farm team. So you played for the Bears.
First practice I had as a pro as a Bear. So you talk about coming full circle. I mean, the Hershey Bears are the most decorated minor league hockey franchise in all of North America.
Yeah.
They always have been. They are the gold standard of minor league hockey.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. So I mean, if you guys didn't see it, you can go back. I know, Bundy, you have it on your Twitter account. I retweeted it out. Check it out. It was a really great message from Bundy to the Hershey Bears.
It's 9 minutes. It's 9 minutes, guys. It's quick. It's a fast version, but it's worth listening to, especially if you have somebody that you think is struggling or you're struggling. Hear it. If you need to direct message me, please do so. We'll get you help if we need to. And I promise you we will. I'll get you the help. If you say the hardest thing, Anthony, and I always say this, is to say, I need help. Yep. Don't be scared to say you need help. I wish I said I needed help a lot earlier than I did. I didn't, and you lose things from that, but you also regrow from it as well.
That's great. That's a great message. Well, you're gonna, your message gets out there that way, and it's also great to see you getting back on the ice Monday in the Flyers Alumni Game. And you said now you kind of mentioned this right before we went to the Homer interview.
Yeah.
And I let it slide, but then because I was like, oh, I must have gotten an email about it. I did not. You said that the rosters came out. So maybe they came out internally, but you know who you're playing with. We could be breaking some news here on Snow the Goalie because I didn't get a public email on this yet.
I'm actually paired with, it was on Twitter. I'm paired with Flyers Alumni put it on.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, so he'll be just as fast as he was in 95. And everyone will understand what I went through that year. He'll be yelling at me the whole night too.
Oh, he's funny as hell, Shell. He yells at everybody. Oh man, one of my favorite stories. I was riding a bus with the Phantoms. I wanted to do a story about what it was like being an AHL player in comparison to playing in the NHL. And this was during the lockout. So I went on a bus trip to 3 cities with the Phantoms. and I sat with Chief one night, I sat with John Stevens one night, and I sat with Shell one night. And I guess the boys, they wanted to watch Napoleon Dynamite was the movie that they wanted to watch on the bus. And all Shell did for the entire 2 hours was curse about how stupid that movie was and that why these guys were watching that stupid movie. And it was nonstop. I heard more Shell bitching than I did of the movie. He's just an absolute gem of a human and a total riot.
I'll have to do, I don't want to get too foul mouthed, but I'll have to do my best Shell impersonation for you. I got to wait till Russ is back sometime.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. So yeah, so now are you on Team Holmgren?
I'm on Team
or Team Tockett. You're on Team Tockett. Okay. So you're on Team Tockett. All right. So there you go. Oh, here you go. Here.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the other rosters are on.
Yeah, here it is. I just pulled it up. So your Team Tockett. Your top line here. Your young line. This is the young guys. Simone Gagne, Danny Briere, Mike Knuble. That's a good line.
Oh, 3 French guys. Except Knuble, sorry.
That's a great line. Second line, you got Brian Propp, Pelly Eklund, and Lindsey Carson.
Oh, that's a good line right there. The old 80s throwback.
Yeah, it's an 80s line. And then the third line is Donald Brashear, Mitch Lamoureux, and Reggie Leach, with Riley Cote is kind of like the extra forward who's going to like rotate in.
For you, pal. That's an extra defenseman. That's not an extra. That's an extra defenseman. Did you see the roster? There's 4 defensemen on each side. They're going to knock me out. Running like a month ago. I went out of circuit again. I start again in February. So I'm just hoping I make it.
So it's you and Shell and Brad Marsh and Nick Shaw. Could there be any slower a foursome?
I'm a good skater. Don't forget that.
Yeah,
I can skate.
Yeah.
The other 3 can't. That's not my problem.
Oh, and then Mike Mckenna is your goalie.
Yeah, good. Yeah, great guy.
Well,
you know what?
He's young. Talk about young. I mean, he's still old enough to play in the NHL if he was quality enough to play at that level. I mean, he was an AHL lifer pretty much. So
I like it. Chico's on that. Actually, Chico played. Robert Asher, of course, played for the alumni team in the summer against the Warriors groups, the 3 Warriors teams.
Yeah,
who are just awesome people, by the way. And he was really well. Chico played very well.
Did he really? Okay, that's good.
He did.
Okay, so here's Holmgren's team. Holmgren's team's got top line of Johnny LeClaire, Eric Lindros, Scott Mellenby as on that line. That's interesting. He's a little bit older than there's a couple of younger guys on the next 2 lines, which kind of surprises me that Mellenby's up on that line. Second line, Scott Hartnell, Adam Hall, and Joffrey Lupul. I think all 3 were teammates at one point.
They was Hall after Lupul. I have to look that up. I'm not sure, but I got it. Okay.
It's close. Okay. Third line, you got Scotty Upshaw, Ron Sunner, and Dave Brown.
Who's the backup on that one? They got
Fridge.
That's the 5th defenseman for them.
Fridge is the one thing I'll say this. I mean, I would criticize your foursome, but their foursome's got some age to it. I mean, their foursome on defense: Mark Howell, Dan McGillis. That's the pairing, and then the second pair is Joe Watson and Darian Hatcher.
That's gonna be good. That's a slugfest right there. That's unbelievable. Joe Watson and Hatcher.
Yes.
That ended up being the slowest pair in the history of all hockey, men's league, and everything.
It really is. It really is. It's funny as hell.
So can I get mic'd up? You haven't answered me yet.
No. Well, so here was the thing. This is so we had kind of teased this right on previous episodes of Snow the Goalie. We had teased this again. We had the idea. It was actually your idea, and then Russ and I were working on it to get our video guy Craig to actually come down to the game Monday night. We were going to make you wear a mic. And Craig was going to, just follow you around and then film you on the ice, just filming you, not filming the game. And it would be kind of fun, just kind of catch conversations between you and the other alumni and, in the game, in the locker room, kind of just fun stuff. and then we would edit it together and put out like this like neat little video kind of recap. It was a great idea. So I reached out to the Flyers. Of course, I talked to Zach Hill first, and Zach's like, Anthony, it sounds like a great idea. Just you got to go through the people on the other side, because this is the business side of the Flyers event, right? I mean, this is not hockey ops. So hockey ops doesn't have control over this. So we got to go through the business side. And my initial conversation with them was like, yeah, this is going to be kind of cool. Until today, Bundy, when I got a text message back telling me that they don't think it's a good idea to do this, and they're not going to give us permission to do this. And the reason that they gave, the bullshit reason that and I'm calling it bullshit, and I know that they're going to get mad that I'm calling it bullshit, but when you hear it, there's no other word to describe it. The reason that they gave was that they did not want the players to not know about it and then maybe say something that they wouldn't know was being recorded.
Maybe they should actually pay attention to some history about the guys that are actually playing and know their personalities, instead of hitching dumbass decisions like that. What a stupid, misguided, like short-sighted, dumbass, that's the stupidest thing I've heard. Like, we're trying to give content to the fans.
Yeah.
They're fans.
Yes.
You know what? They'll shovel Gritty out all night there, pump him out all night there, and play bingo with some of them. Whatever. It's embarrassing, dude. Like, just stupid. I'll bring my own phone and hang it around my neck. They can't do anything with that. So.
It's really disappointing. And we would have done something really cool. And that's what I told them. I said, listen, to me, this is an upper level decision. And there's no doubt about it. You know this. I know this. Everybody knows this. These are the people upstairs who said no. And my thought process is the reason they said no was they didn't think of it.
Yeah, of course they didn't, dude. I told you before.
Right?
When I worked there, they're like, oh, if you have any ideas, we'll take any of them.
Yeah, so they didn't think to do it.
That was like what they thought all the time. You know what? Like I said, dude, if they didn't have the orange mascot running around every night, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. So let's just take the mic off a former alumni who's actually wants to have fun with guys and get some good content for people. No, that's just,
No, can't do it.
21 rules are applied here, Anthony.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Well, I mean, and I want to kind of, dovetail that into another little story. So the Philadelphia Warriors, they had a great thing take place last week, right?
Champions.
Won the championship. Yep. Won the championship yet again. Brad Marsh, by the way, he is doing some great stuff. You talk about people within the organization. We make fun of the business side of the organization or criticize them sometimes when they deserve it. But Brad Marsh is doing some great stuff over there with the Flyers alumni, with the Warriors. And here they are. The Warriors go out and they win the championship. It's awesome. It's awesome. And they don't get congratulated by the big bosses of the Flyers until 4 days later.
I heard this Friday that they went over for a photo op with Paul Muller, a good friend of ours,
right,
from Toyota. I've known Paul for 25 years and just as good a guy as you're going to get. But if you're going to race over to the skate zone for your little Toyota photo op, make sure you go out, get your hands sweaty for a few seconds to shake everyone's hand after the victory. Don't show up Monday or 5 days later and show up in someone's suite at the game for the Flyers hands. Get in there and do the right thing. That's the legacy of this team, right? That's doing the right things. That's the foundation that Ed Snyder started with this group.
Right.
And you know what? And when you stop doing the things that made this franchise important, people take notice.
Yes, they do.
Who takes notice of that? The Philadelphia Flyer Warriors players took notice of that.
I'm sure they did. Yeah. That's a shame. That's a total shame. I can't believe that I can believe that they dropped the ball.
It's pathetic, Anthony. It's totally pathetic.
Nothing surprises me anymore, but that you drop the ball that poorly on an event like that. So anyway, we do have one more 5-star review that I got to read. I've got one more. Oh no, we did this one. Never mind. We did. We do have one more, but all right, I'll read this one. So we do have one guy who sends us a 5-star review every week. And so we kind of don't read his because he sends them every week. It's the same guy that sends them. And I think that's kind of like loading up the 5 stars. But because I announced that we had one, I'll read this one.
Just change his name every week.
Yeah, just change. Now this is from Lee C. Lee C is one of our constant listeners. Finding Ways to Win podcast, 5 stars. Thank you for a very energized podcast with Russ, Ant, and Chris. Today's podcast was informative and provides good insight on the team's play coming off the Western Canadian road trip and the expectations of the upcoming games. I am in complete agreement with Chris's analysis that AV must go if they only get half the points, aka 18 out of 36, which remember we talked about that last week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The discussion on points was also fine, given how points are very tough to get and they are very important. The Gordon Bombay rub and the existence of the Mighty Ducks is priceless. However, the Disney Plus reboot of the Mighty Ducks brings smiles to my adult children. The curse of Ron Hextall continues. Continued great success with your podcast. That's from Lee C. And yeah, good stuff. And there was I got a Facebook message. It was actually from one of the guys who won tickets from us on the Press Row show last week. Okay. And there was a tweet out. Who put this out? Let me see who he sent the link. I guess this is Dom. No. I don't know. It's the Spit and Chicklets guys who actually put it out originally. The Spit and Chicklets guys put out a video 25 years ago tonight. Ron Hextall versus Felix the Cat Potvin fight on the ice. Right, so that was like 25 years ago yesterday.
I'll never forget it.
Well, that was the thing. So Chris sent me a message and he said, "Love seeing how the players were in all of the fight. Could you ask Bundy what he was thinking about that during your next podcast?" So I wanted to make sure that we got that question in.
You know what? I got a great story about that, actually, that's carried on for years. So Ron Hextall that night, Hexy loved playing for the crowd in Philadelphia. Like he did. He was a perfect fit for this town. So I remember he used to tell me, he said, "I'm going to go down there and kick the shit out of that guy." Right? A big game was a night. So he went down and he comes out and he's like a bloodied, stuck Irish pig, right? He's got all over his face. And I remember we used to sit together on the plane and we'd drive in and he goes, "Boy," he was like, "I didn't know when I was fucking around with that Potvin, I was going to take a beating like that." So he actually admitted, he's like, "Geez, I didn't know I think he just thought I'm going to go down there and grab that guy and just give him a lump." And old Potvin stood right up there and he just threw haymakers. So I called the fight a draw, Anthony. It wasn't really a draw. Yeah. But in terms of the actual abuse to one's face, Hexy took the worst of it. And we've joked about it for years. He's like, "I'm going to stay away from the cat." We played Toronto again. He's like, "Don't go near the cat tonight," right? Like, we were joking about it. So it was good stuff. And you know what? That actually made for the rivalry. Like, you talk about like moments in time. Like that set up the Toronto rivalry in that era for me for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Domi it was just great stuff, and you cannot recreate stuff like that anymore. Yeah. It was just part of the time.
Yeah, it was. And I think back to that era, there were so many great rivalries that were the result of plays or like that or so. I mean, I'll take you back to Colorado, Detroit, when Lemieux hit on Draper.
Draper, yeah.
Yeah, and then who was it that said Dino Ciccarelli, "I can't believe I shook his freaking hand," in the handshake line. But that went on for like several years. I mean, it's something like that. One play makes you hate a team for several years every time you play them, and it makes every game a must-see game.
Jonesy used to tell those guys in Colorado would get traded right around when that started.
Yeah.
And he used to tell them with Detroit, he goes, "I know we look tougher than them." He goes, "Don't wake them up." And Colorado woke them up.
Yeah.
They did that night with that hit from behind where he broke Draper's face. That set off the Detroit dynasty from that point on.
Yeah.
They ended up fighting together. They stuck up for each other together, and they ended up going on to become a dynasty together over the course of 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it's funny. And I remember, the two things. I remember talking to, because Hitch was the coach of Dallas at the time. And I think it was leading into it. Detroit couldn't beat Colorado prior to that. Colorado couldn't beat Dallas, and Dallas couldn't beat Detroit. It was like this. They were the 3 best teams, and they all struggled one against the other.
Yep.
And I remember Hitch saying this very similar thing to what you said. But then they put out I don't know, did you ever see the movie The Russian Five? Came out about 3 or 4 years ago. It was about the history of the 5 Russians coming over to play for the Detroit Red Wings. And in that movie, they all said the same thing. Like, they would be frustrated by the Colorado Avalanche. Every time they played them, it was frustration until that hit, and then it became personal. And when it became personal, that's when they became the best team in hockey.
Yeah.
That was the last little thing. We always talk about, what does it take to make a champion, right? And you can have as much talent in the world, until you come together as a cohesive unit, that talent's not going to win. And sometimes it's just getting embarrassed. Like the Lightning got embarrassed by the Columbus Blue Jackets. They got swept 4-0 and then come back and win 2 Stanley Cups in a row, right? That was the embarrassment that got them going the right way. For the Detroit Red Wings back then, it was, they just needed somebody to get hurt in their family to kind of come together to be the best hockey team in the NHL.
And that's what happened. I love how Hitch inserts himself in every conversation. By the way, when Dallas won the cup in 1999, the players actually did not win that cup. Ken Hitchcock won that cup by himself. That's how good he is. Just ask him.
It's so funny. It's so funny. So many guys had that same attitude toward him. And then but it's funny, like you just kind of keep going, and I love it. Like I would go up to a guy like Patrick Sharp, for example. And I talked to Sharpie, and we talk about when he was a young player, and Hitch hated him. Hitch couldn't stand him. And Hitch got rid of him. I mean, really was Hitch told Clarkie to get rid of him.
And Justin Williams too.
Yeah, well, Willie too. But at least for Willie, the Flyers got something, right? They got a player that could help them in Markov. But Patrick Sharp, I forget what the guy's name was that they got.
Matt Ellison?
Yes, that's who it was. Matt Ellison, who I used to see.
Forget the great trades that happened.
Who I remember going to a Phantoms game once. He was there, and he was just standing outside the locker room smoking a cigarette, and I knew that this was a problem. I said, this is never going to work. And Sharpie goes on, to win 3 cups and become a star player in Chicago. And I remember talking to him after the fact, and he said, yeah, I hated playing for Hitch. But you know what? He says, when I look back on my career, that was exactly the kind of thing I needed at that time in order to become the player that I became. Like, he gives Hitch credit. So some guys actually look back and say, yeah, Hitch had a positive benefit on their career.
Dude, if you had Hitch now, some of these guys, they'd be like checking into a mental ward. I mean, that's how bad Hitch was. I hate saying, I don't say that lightly, but man, he would wear guys down over time. Like guy like Patrick Sharp. I just feel bad for them. They're just kids,
Yeah.
And it was hard, but I love to see a guy again like Patrick Sharp perseveres right through that, becomes a great player, a Stanley Cup champion. And you know what? He's still one of the best guys I've ever been around in the game of hockey. So I love those stories like that, and I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy for Patrick. And Hitch is a good coach. I just can't help myself.
But I mean, it was certain guys, right? I mean, there were certain guys that he had his own whipping boys, and other guys probably got away with a little bit more than they probably should have, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And again, like it was just, I was one of those guys for Hitch where I played a lot, but he still I still took a paddle sometimes,
Yeah.
But he tried to get his own, he did. The theory in Dallas was that, he said this, that he made the whole team hate him, made him the pariah.
Yeah.
And they all regrouped together. I mean, that's an awful lot. You have to have an awful lot of venom to be able to create that kind of an atmosphere. I'm not necessarily sure I believe that.
Right.
It's an interesting concept nonetheless.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done talking about Hitchcock.
Branko. Branko Radavoy. I know
Branko.
He was hard on Branko too.
Are you figure skating out here tonight?
The whole team's playing like shit, and he starts yelling at Branko Radavoyevich of all people.
You're up 4-0, and you're yelling at some guy in the third period. And you're like,
Oh, Bundy, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. Well, hey, listen, great episode today. It ended up being a lot longer than I think we thought it was going to be, but that's awesome. I mean, we give them some good content. Don't forget to go out and follow and then retweet at Snow the Goalie. Got to do both to be entered into the drawing for the next pair of tickets for the Alumni Game on Monday. November 15th. We were going to give a pair away on Friday night and a pair away on Saturday night.
And I'm sorry that the Flyers are such a bunch of fun sponges that we won't have a mic on for that.
Yeah,
game.
it's
But
fun.
you just never know, Anthony.
You never know. We'll figure something. We'll figure something out, Bunny. They're gonna pull our credentials. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna record something. They'll pull our credentials. But that's all right. No, it sucks to be us. Anyway. So for Russ Joy, who couldn't be part of this part of the podcast. Wait. I just said for Russ Joy, who couldn't be part of this podcast, and look who shows up.
Look at him popping back in after the Homer interview.
Wait. I don't even think he realizes what just happened. This is so hysterical. This is absolutely hysterical. This couldn't have come at a more unbelievable time. Where's he at?
He's connecting to the audio. Now his video's coming up here. Watch this. There he is. Look at him.
Yes.
Yeah, Russ, you literally won't believe what happened. We're still recording, by the way, and I was just signing off. And as I said, for Russ Joy, who couldn't be with us for this part of the podcast, and you showed up into the podcast.
Pal, you and your boys medium t-shirt you got on there.
I think it is. I actually think it is. I believe, if memory serves me correct, I got this last Christmas or my birthday or something. Listen, I'm glad that you know my size. Feel free to send anything my way. I don't turn free things away. I just got back from picking up the kids, and I had this weird spidey sense that something was going on. And Ant's been kind of late on getting some stuff to me recently. So I was like, all right, well, either you guys are done the pod or you're getting close to being done the pod, because I didn't have the file yet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to check this out. And look at you guys.
You want to close the show for us?
I was literally just closing it out. I swear to I said for Russ, who couldn't be with us here today, and you came on. I was about to say for Russ, for Chris, and for Anthony. This is Anthony saying, thanks for listening to this episode of Snow the Goalie.
One thing that I do know is that I'm going to have to go back and adjust all the audio levels because Anthony's blowing out his mic. Bundy, I love your hair right now. You have a little bit of the Rob Blagojevich look going on right now. It's like a little coiffed there in the front. And I love this. Are you cosplaying as a lumberjack? What's going on over there? I'm glad I hopped on.
See, you had to come back at me for the boys medium, jar. So that's all right. Go ahead. I'm open season.
That's all good.
I admit.
If we don't rim each other, what are we going to do?
We went long today, Russ, after your interview, but it's all good. We had a great time.
I'm glad to hear that it went well. I actually look forward to going back and listening to it. I'm sure all the people are happy that a new episode is dropping and is ready to go. Anthony, I assume that you then announced the winners.
I did announce the winners.
And
yes.
Did you plug?
I plugged twice.
Look at you.
Twice.
Look at
5-star reviews done. All of that. Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, did you mention the 3-star review or no?
I did not mention the 3-star review because it ripped you, and I wasn't going to do it without you here. But now that you mention it, Russ.
Wait. We don't violate the protocol here, Anthony.
No, I will.
I'll tell you what. No, you don't read it.
I'm reading the 3-star. I'm reading the 3-star review. I'm reading the 3-star.
Don't read the No, hold on. We only read 5-star reviews on this show. We want people to have the cojones. We don't care. You can rip away. By all means, rip away, but leave a 5-star review. Somebody left the lukewarm, the milk toast, the plain whole wheat Cheerio review for this show, ripping me, which is fine. Rip away, but you have to make it a 5-star review or it doesn't get read. Bundy, somebody's upset that when you came in, I didn't go away, but we're not reading their words on the podcast because it's not a 5-star review. So I'm going to tell this person, where is it at? I had it here somewhere.
HXJBBVHC.
Yeah, somebody who looks like they had a seizure on their keyboard left a 3-star review to, sorry, I don't want to demean people who have seizures. Somebody fell asleep on their keyboard. Sorry, I don't want to go after anybody who might be narcoleptic. They just have a random collection of consonants. There's no vowels. This person is a consonantist. Let's go with that. So this person, random collection of letters, change it to a 5-star review, rip away. We'll read it on next week's show. But until then, pound sand, I guess. But hey, I'm glad that you guys got this done. That is a great thing. It's a great day for America. Thanks to all the vets out there. Those of you who are listening, who are veterans or who have people in your family who are veterans, let them know we say thank you. Bundy?
I have one thing. I cannot let it go, guys. Happy birthday to my 15-year-old son today. Chris Jr. So you know what?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's his big birthday. So it's a great day. I had a grandfather fight in World War II veteran, as many of us did, and my son's birthday. So it's a special day. And we got to hammer out the podcast, guys. What a great Thursday this is.
And how great was it that we gave the tribute to the Philadelphia Warriors today, of all days?
We did.
Yes.
You guys, those guys are the best. We love them. We'll always support the Flyers Warriors, or entire program with Brad Marsh. You guys and girls rock, and we thank you for what you do for us. Thank you so much.
Yep. So, Russ, you want to say goodbye for all the three of us like you normally do?
Of course. Well, for Ant, who you can find on Twitter at AntSamPhilly, for Bundy, who you can find on Twitter at CTarian6. I'm Russ at Joanne Broad. Make sure you go listen, you subscribe, follow Snow the Goalie wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us over on Twitter, like I mentioned, at Snow the Goalie, Facebook.com/Snow the Goalie, and Instagram at Snow the Goalie. So for Ant, for Bundy, I'm Russ. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.